Okay, here we go. So now we have it all set up. So here is, obviously a time lapse of me terraforming. What I'm doing is I'm gonna be doing a wireframing technique using gold. And let me actually explain why I use gold first. I didn't know exactly what color I wanted the terrain to be in the end. So building out of gold allowed me to be able to adjust the color later on. But besides that, there's not really too much of a reason to build out of gold. Besides, it does allow you to see the shape of it better. But primarily it was just because I didn't know what exactly I wanted the color to be. I ended up settling with a stone and grass normal instead of a mesa biome like I thought about doing. But besides that, I need to explain the main theme of this video, which is specifically about wireframing. This is one of the most important techniques when it comes to terraforming, as well as many other parts of building that include, even structures. You have to wireframe many structures, especially a structure that has a lot of curves. However, many people mess up greatly when it comes to terraforming, and especially when it comes to wireframing, primarily because they try filling in the wireframe. And whenever you're in that mindset, there we go, of filling in terraforming, what you end up doing is, filling it in and not really worrying about the shape, because all you're thinking about, I just need to fill in between these 2 points. However, the better way of doing it, at least in my opinion and many other people's opinions, is to wireframe until it is filled in. So don't fill it in, wireframe until it's filled in. What that allows you to do is, not really allows you to do, it puts you in the mindset that, I am going to wireframe, and wireframing is all about shaping. So you're constantly thinking about shaping. So every single line, you're shaping the terrain. You're not just filling it in, you're actually shaping the terrain. And if you're always thinking about shaping the terrain, your terrain's going to turn out a lot better by the end. Which is actually something we see in this build here. Whenever I actually finish filling in the wireframe, or whenever I finish wireframing and it is filled in, I don't really smooth out the terrain nearly as much as you normally would, primarily because, I don't really need to, because I wireframed it. When you're wireframing, you generally get the shape of the terrain down a lot better. Though I do smooth out the terrain, it's not nearly as much as what you would normally expect. So when it comes to the actual design choices I made, this is where I'm actually going to explain some more things. The primary technique I was explaining is obviously the wireframing, but when it comes to the actual designing of this, I wanted something to show off some difficult techniques. And I know a lot of people have difficulties with curves, especially things that spiral around and doing things that are like this. But for the main part, I wanted to have something that was a bit more fantasy, that was really interesting, especially since I've been doing some stuff that's not like this recently. I thought it'd be really fun to do something that was spiraled and has like this tower kind of look to it, especially since these towers look really good with other towers side by side, because they have a really interesting silhouette. Because as you can see here, you can have the silhouettes, or the shape that you see, which is that spiral. So you see the spiral, and then beside it you end up seeing obviously the 2 little like stone towers, I guess you can say they are. And with those stone towers, it allows you to have a lot of really, really interesting shapes, beside the main tower. So those end up looking really interesting, side by side, having those things popping out of the terrain. On top of having those things pop out of the terrain, we also can have those really nice lines of erosion, which are those dirt areas, which ended up looking really cool. Especially because those towers just gave me the perfect opportunity to be able to add that in. The last thing I believe I'll be really talking about, besides some trees, is I used Cyan Terracotta because I wanted to make it look like darker and older stone. And in the way I thought of that stone is I consider that stone to be a harder form of stone than the regular stone. So I added it in areas that where erosion, I wouldn't want erosion to affect it as much. Don't mind the house, by the way. That I just end up destroying that. It looks awful. However, with those, the areas that needed to have harder stone, I added those in so that they would, look like they had more structural stability, and that's why they're still standing. And I know some more about erosion, but it's going to take me a while to explain it, so we'll skip over that. With these mushrooms, you can see a building, not really a building technique, but just something people forget to do, and that is that this stone, well, not really a stone, but this is not that big of a build, so we don't really need to make those mushrooms very big. So I just made the mushrooms, well, they're big for Minecraft standards. However, I just made them pretty small compared to the overall thing. I didn't really make it the size of a tree. Instead of making a mushroom the size of a tree, I just decided to build a tree. And here, I'll give you a couple tips on building a tree as well. With this tree, I designed the tree basically using symmetrical shapes, so a really basic tree design. Then after I did that, I mixed up a couple things to give it a more random look so that I could add in more branches. Because I don't like my trees looking symmetrical, so if I first start out symmetrical, and then I break it apart and I mess it up and do everything afterward, it's generally a little bit faster if I do it that way. As you saw right there, I moved it a little bit higher up so that whenever I copied and pasted it in, the tree would actually be sticking into the ground like it's supposed to be. Besides that, so this is obviously the end of the time lapse. So I hope you enjoyed that, but I have a cinematic for you guys to watch, and after the cinematic, I believe that's pretty much it, but you never know what's going to be at the end of the video, so I guess I'll see you then. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have anything that you want to comment down below, don't forget to do that. But if you really want to help support this channel, then don't forget to actually share the video. That helps out a lot in the long run because it's just extremely helpful to actually get that feedback, because obviously these videos are very difficult to make and sometimes take a lot of time. Most of the time take a lot of time. So if you want to help support the channel, don't forget to, like, comment, and subscribe, and definitely share the video if you really enjoyed it, or if you just want to help out a friend, don't forget to show them this video so that they can learn how to terraform better as well, so that you don't get too far ahead. Anyway, I hope you had a great, wonderful, fantastic day, and God bless.